Hey guys, tonight we slip behind the soft glow of a podcasting mic into the quiet hum of a bedroom studio lined with true crime books, soundproofing foam, and a wall covered in names no one remembers except her. You're about to follow the voice of a woman who made a name by unearthing the forgotten. But this time, she may have gone too far. This is the story of obsession, of blurred lines between justice and fantasy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You don't know her yet, but you know the type. Late night voice, calm cadence, a little reverb in the background. Her podcast intro always starts with the same line. Some cases live in silence until someone decides to speak. You've been listening for months, maybe longer. She covers the unsolved ones, the odd ones, the cases that never made national headlines, but one case keeps coming back. She's mentioned it a dozen times. A young girl found dead in a drainage canal outside Asheville, North Carolina, back in 1996. The locals called it the Sleepy Hollow case because the town was so small and forgotten that even the police stopped trying. You remember the first time she covered it, it was season 2, episode 5, and then again in season 3, then 4. You figured it was just a personal obsession, something about the way she spoke, like she knew the victim, like it mattered more, but you didn't think much of it until now. She calls herself Casey Dell, not her real name, but you've heard it whispered on Reddit threads and Discord channels. She keeps things anonymous, plays the part of a lone detective with a mic. What you didn't know, what no one knew, is that she grew up just 5 miles from the crime scene. She never said that in her episodes. You picture her in that cramped room again, walls stacked with case files, coffee rings on newspaper clippings. She lights a candle before recording every episode. She begins after 11 p.m. It's like a ritual, and with every passing season, she returns to Sleepy Hollow. She talks about the broken window in the victim's house, the bruises that didn't match the coroner's report, the missing key. How did she even know about the key? That's when the rumors started. Someone on TikTok clipped a part of her episode and compared it to a leaked crime scene report from 1997, a detail about a ring, a plastic owl necklace that was supposedly never released to the public, as she describes it in perfect detail. At the 16-minute mark of her podcast, it spreads like wildfire. Fans start listening back through old episodes, and then the subreddit explodes. How did Casey know about the owl? Was she there? What if she's not just reporting the case? What if she's involved? You scroll for hours, you're hooked now. The line between content and reality is starting to dissolve, and in the background, you hear that familiar voice again, soft, calm. And that's why I believe the killer was never a stranger. You wonder what she sees when she looks at herself in the mirror, a storyteller or a suspect. You don't know it yet, but the police have started listening too, and they're taking notes. You scroll back to season 3. The title reads, When Water Forgets, The Sleepy Hollow Files. It was one of her most listened to episodes, over 300,000 downloads, and as you listen again, with fresh ears, things start to fall into place. She talks about the smell of the marsh that morning, about a train whistle in the background, faint but steady, about the sound the girl's body might have made when it hit the water. Except, the report says the victim was placed there, gently. There was no splash. It's almost like she's remembering. You pause, rewind, listen again, and it's not just you. A TikTok account, at Podcast Files, starts doing side-by-side breakdowns, episode versus leaked court documents, and people begin to ask, how much of her storytelling is research, and how much is memory? She describes a bicycle, a rust-colored Schwinn with one missing pedal, a detail that had never been published. You check the old case file, only found in sealed court exhibits. So how does she know? At first, fans defend her. She's just thorough. She talks to people. Maybe someone from the town told her, but then someone posts a local yearbook photo, class of '98. There she is, real name, Kelsey Dunn, same high school, same grade as the victim, and that's when the sleuths go full throttle. Reddit threads turn into trees of speculation. A Twitter space runs for 5 hours, with former fans debating the ethics of citizen journalism. Is she solving the case or covering it up? And in the middle of it all, she keeps releasing episodes, calm, composed. No direct response, but each new drop includes one or two chillingly precise details, almost like a confession in pieces. Then comes the episode that changes everything. Season 6, Episode 2, The Things We Bury. She opens with a quote, "Memory is a cage we decorate." She talks about how killers sometimes revisit the crime scene, how they insert themselves into the investigation, and how, sometimes, they try to rewrite the ending. And right at the end, in her signature soft tone, she says, "The person who did this never meant to kill her. It was an accident." But they couldn't stop the lie once it began. You sit there frozen. Was that a reveal? A fan timestamps it. Another clips it for TikTok. By morning, the clip has over 2 million views. People start saying it. She did it. Not everyone agrees, but the doubt has taken root, and it spreads fast. Journalists knock on her door. Her podcast is pulled from Spotify pending review. True crime channels start releasing Who Is Kelsey Dunn? Exposes. Even former collaborators go quiet. And still she doesn't speak. Not publicly, not directly. She just posts one final episode titled, "The Sleep That Won't Come," 22 minutes long. It ends with a whisper. "Sometimes, we are the ghost we've been chasing." You can feel it shifting now. Not just the fan theories, not just the comments. The police have joined the audience, and unlike everyone else, they're not listening for drama. They're building a case behind the scenes. The local cold case unit reopens the file. To Detectives Graham and Morales pull the archived evidence from storage, dusty folders, deteriorating photographs, analog audio logs. One of the tapes was never digitized, an old interview with a girl who claimed to know something back in 1996. The girl refused to give her real name, but she did mention a plastic owl necklace. It's her voice, young, nervous, but unmistakable. You hear it in the crackling silence between words. The same tone that now narrates murder cases to tens of thousands of listeners. Morales stops the tape halfway through and just says, "She's been talking to us for decades. We just didn't know it." The DA isn't convinced yet. Podcasts aren't proof, but they start watching her closely. She's put herself on tape over 70 times. And now every episode is evidence. Search warrants go out quietly to her hosting platforms. They start pulling metadata, timestamps, device IDs. She doesn't know it yet, or maybe she does. Her episodes start getting abstract, more emotional, less journalistic, as if she's unraveling in real time. One episode opens with her whispering, almost to herself, "How long do you get to tell the story before the story tells you?" She stops uploading photos of her workspace, deletes her Patreon. Her website goes dark, but the listeners stay. In fact, she's never had more of them. The day before it breaks, you see the signs. One of the TikTok sleuths at courtroom crypto posts a blurry photo of 2 unmarked vehicles parked near her address. A Reddit post claims the police pulled GPS data from her phone. They say she visited the canal site 6 times in the past year, each time after midnight. You wanted to believe she was just haunted, like the rest of us, drawn to the place, the way. Guilt circles a drain, but maybe that's not all it was. And then it happens. The arrest isn't live streamed. It's not even reported immediately. But someone with a Ring camera across the street catches it. She walks out in sweatpants, no shoes, just a blank expression and a long exhale. They don't cuff her until she's in the car. The video leaks within hours. True crime podcaster arrested in cold case murder. The thumbnail shows her face in shadows, mouth slightly open. The voice that solved so many stories has become one. The community fractures overnight. Some call it a setup. Others say she's a genius who got too close. But most feel betrayed. Her voice used to be the one you trusted to lead you through the dark. Now, you're not sure where she was leading you at all. The police aren't saying much. Just that new evidence has come to light. They won't say if they got it from her own mouth or her microphone. And somewhere in a padded evidence bag in the DA's office is a podcast mic, silver, slightly dented, still holding secrets. It only takes a day for the trial to trend. Her mugshot appears on every thumbnail, not with wild eyes or bloodied hands, just a neutral, tired expression. That's what rattles people the most. She doesn't look like a killer. She looks like someone who's been up all night editing audio. The headlines eat it alive. Podcast queen accused of murder from podcaster to prisoner, the cold case that spoke back. You click through all of them. You know the story by heart now, but you still need to see what they missed. The indictment includes two shocking pieces of evidence. 1. A deleted audio file found in her Dropbox. An early version of a 2020 episode never published where she appears to name the victim directly before correcting herself. The prosecution argues it's a subconscious slip, something she never should have known. 2. A draft script found in her Notes app. It includes stage directions. Pause here, insert sound of water dripping. Mention the owl necklace. It reads more like a diary than a production online. The theories explode. Half the internet thinks she's guilty. The other half thinks she's being framed by a justice system that hates independent investigators. One TikTok clip goes viral. She got closer than the cops ever did, so they made her the villain. But then a former classmate speaks out. She wasn't just obsessed with the case. She was obsessed with the girl. The trial begins on a rainy Monday. She walks in wearing charcoal gray, no jewelry, no notes. She sits beside her attorney like someone attending someone else's funeral. The prosecution opens with the podcast clips. They play the line about the person who never meant to kill her. She closes her eyes when she hears it. The defense argues she's just a storyteller, that all podcasters dramatize, that she got her details from deep research, not personal memory. But the prosecution presents something else, a map, drawn in her own hand, found in a journal she used to plan her episodes. It marks the drainage canal with an X next to it. She wrote, "Where we ended." You watch from your couch, earbuds in. The stream buffers once. Thousands of viewers are watching with you. Reddit detectives, burned fans, true crime junkies. She doesn't speak during the trial. She never takes the stand. But her voice is everywhere, in every clip, in every theory. A court TV commentator says, "This is the first trial I've seen where the defendant essentially narrated her own downfall." And it's true. She's been confessing all along, if not in facts, then in feeling. You replay that last line from her final episode. "Sometimes we are the ghost we've been chasing." And suddenly, it hits you. She wasn't hunting a killer, she was burying one. You watch the verdict like it's a season finale, not because it's entertainment, but because you've followed her voice through the darkest places. And now, here you are at the end of her story, or maybe the beginning of someone else's. The jury deliberates for 3 days. Internet forums turn into courtrooms of their own, every moment analyzed, every silence dissected. Then comes the alert, verdict reached. You refresh your screen. You hold your breath. She stands, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the floor. The judge reads it, not guilty. And for the briefest second, she almost smiles, but it's not over. The prosecution announces plans to retry. The judge calls it a mistrial, a hung jury, 7-5. Not unanimous, not resolved. Outside, the cameras swarm. She walks out under heavy clouds, surrounded by reporters. She says nothing, just pulls her coat tighter and disappears into the back seat of a black sedan. Back online, the reaction is volcanic. Some say justice failed. Others say justice tried and the truth just didn't stick. A new subreddit pops up within an hour. Still listening. It fills fast. People posting theories, screenshots, timestamps. Some say she'll release another episode. A secret one. A hidden feed. Whispers of a private Discord server where she still talks. Behind aliases. You wonder, if she did do it, why podcast about it? Maybe that's the question she was always answering. With each episode, she gave a version of the truth. Not the legal truth, not the absolute truth, but her truth. A confession dressed in storytelling, wrapped in edits and ambience and candlelight. In the months that follow, the case becomes legend. College lectures cite it as the beginning of narrative criminal forensics. Documentaries are pitched. Other podcasters cover her story now, ironically. Just like she covered others. You scroll one night and see her face again. This time in someone else's thumbnail. Her voice sampled in someone else's intro. And you think, maybe she got what she wanted all along. To be remembered, to be listened to, forever. The case is still technically open. The DA hasn't dropped it. But there are no new arrests, no new episodes, just silence and a Mick gathering dust. You sit back, headphones still warm against your ears. The world has gone quiet now. No courtroom buzz, no scrolling headlines, no waveform glowing on her podcast timeline. Just stillness outside your window. The streetlights flicker in soft amber rhythms. Somewhere in the distance, a train hums past, barely a sound, more like a memory. It reminds you of the first time you heard her voice, that calm, curious tone that made you feel like someone was finally asking the right questions. She told you stories, cold ones, complicated ones, but in the end, she became one herself. A voice that spoke too often, maybe too close, and eventually too much. You close your eyes for a moment, the hum of your room settles, the fan spins slowly, casting soft shadows across the ceiling, and you wonder, how many storytellers vanish into their own tales? Was she guilty, or just the wrong person asking the right questions? You may never know, but you remember her final line, sometimes, we are the ghost we've been chasing. And maybe that's enough. Now the story fades, not with answers, but with echoes. Take a deep breath, let the tension melt from your shoulders. The case is closed for now, and the Mick, it's silent. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I always like to know who's listening in the dark.